Hey devs, welcome back. Today, I will show you how to install third-party libraries using CocoaPods. Let's install CocoaPods. The first thing I did is to open the terminal and type sudo gem install CocoaPods. And I entered my password, and that's it. The installation starts. Now, why is this useful? You know, sometimes when you search the internet for solutions, as what most programmers would do, you will find that other developers have already done the same thing as what you are trying to do. And they publish their work in GitHub and share it to us for free. Or maybe you are working in a team environment and there are repeating tasks that you are kind of doing and your other teammates are also doing. So your team probably decided to create a library that you can use for common tasks so that the behavior of the app is consistent and the look and feel of custom controls are consistent. Let's take an example of a library that I found that I wanted to use. This is a library of various activity indicators. In SwiftUI, we have something similar, but it is just a very simple one. And if you wanted a custom one, you have to build it yourself. But sometimes you come across a solution like this one, where someone has built it, like these ones having very fancy animations. Now, instead of me writing my own code, which I can do as well, but I might just use these free libraries, and this will speed up my development. Usually, the developer of this library will provide some documentation on how to use and install these libraries. And normally, you will find CocoaPods as one method, but I will show you as well other ways in case CocoaPods is not available as an installation method. It is also very important to look at the conditions of use of these libraries. Are they free? If you see an MIT license, it should be free. Let's quickly go through what it says. Permission is granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of this software. And it also says, subject to the following conditions, the above copyright notice and this permission notice shall be included in all copies or substantial portions of the software. So that's the only condition to use this library. Let's install this first using the manual method. The instruction here is saying to drop the ActivityIndicatorView Swift file into your project. So let's go up here and get the source code. In the drop-down, download the zip file. Let's open this folder and let's go to the Xcode project I created earlier. So what I'll do, I'll go to the source code folder and grab the activity indicator Swift file and drag and drop it into the project. Now when you drop it, don't forget to check copy items if needed so that it will create a copy of the source code in your project and not just referencing it from some location you placed this file. Well, we can see more errors that say cannot find in scope. I think these are different types of activity indicators. So let's grab their source code as well and copy it into the project. Again, check on copy items if needed. Then let's build it. And the error goes away. Now let's try using this library. Let's copy this sample source code here and copy paste it into the VStack. I will create a state boolean variable, showLoadingIndicator, that will be used as a binding var to indicate whether to display the indicator or not. And I will initialize it to true. Now let's see. This default type requires some parameter count. I think this defines how many rotating lines this indicator has. Let's try 8 as suggested. When we run this, the indicator is too big. Let's define the frame to be 200 by 200. Nice. How about we try 10 lines? Or 20? Okay, let's bring it back to 8. Our manual installation of this library works. Let's try another method, but we'll delete first these files from our project. We'll just highlight these files, then press delete, and we'll select move to trash. Now the files are gone, and the project is now failing to build. Let's try the other method by adding the library as package dependencies. Here in File menu, we have Add Packages, and here we can click on the plus sign and then Add Package Collection, and it will ask for the URL. Now let's go back to the documentation and let's copy the URL that has been provided. But when I enter the URL, I get an error with an invalid response. So I found another way. Just do a search and paste the URL in the search window, and it will show up, and we can then select it and click Add Package, and the installation will start. Just a couple of clicks more to confirm, and we're done. We can see in our project navigation that there is this package dependencies, and this is the Activity Indicator View library that we added. Hopefully our project is now going to compile successfully, but it is not, and it cannot find the library in scope. I think that is because we have to import the library, same as what we see here with import SwiftUI. Let's import Activity Indicator View. It is even selectable and showing up in the autocomplete. Now let's try and compile this again, and it is now running successfully. Now let's try the third installation method, which is CocoaPods. But before that, let's reverse and delete this package dependency that we created. We can go again to File, Add Packages, and find the Activity View Indicator package, and then we'll click the minus button to remove it. Then click Remove Collection. Now that's been removed, but the package dependency is still showing up in our project navigator. So let's go to the project settings and search under Framework Libraries and Embedded Content. We can see the library is still there, so we'll remove that as well. And finally, to remove it from the project navigator, let's go under Package Dependencies and remove it here again. Now the package is fully removed from the project. The project is now failing to build. We have installed CocoaPods. Let's see how to install this library using it. We can also check if there is this pod spec file. Usually this library can be installed using CocoaPods. Let's look at the guide on how to use it. First thing we need is to go to the project library. So in the terminal, using the cd command, I'm now in my project library. Then I can type the command pod init to create the pod file. You can see that the file is created. Now let's open it and edit using Xcode. Type the command open -a Xcode pod file. This will now open in Xcode and we can edit. I will uncomment this line and enter the iOS version that we are supporting. We are using iOS 16. I will keep this dynamic framework. And finally, we need to specify the pod that we are installing. So going back to the documentation, we'll copy this pod name. Then we'll save the pod file. We can actually edit the pod file using any text editor. Now we're ready to install. Type the command pod install and wait for it to complete. Now if we compile this Xcode project, it will fail and it cannot find the pod we just installed. Let's close this project and have a look here in our project directory. There is a new file called XC Workspace. This was created when we installed the pod. From now on, we will use XC Workspace instead of Xcode project. Now let's open this in Xcode. You can see here it has our project and another one which is the installed library. So if we compile it here in XC Workspace, this should work. Let's just clear off some other warnings asking us to update to recommended settings. Now it's working again as before. Now we're ready to play with this activity indicator. And let's see how these different types look like. So what I will do here is I will create a lazy V-grid so that we can show all the different activity indicators. And we'll just show them in 2 columns using grid item flexible. And later on, we'll adjust the frames of each view so that they will fit on the screen. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed using Activity View Indicator. Happy coding!